Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to Undercover ET UK. How the devil are we? As you can see, we're going to start straight away look at this News Nation clip. Okay, it talks a little bit about the Pentagon probing into the UFO whistleblower claims from Jake Barber. We're going to watch this. I'm going to give you my opinion on it, and then we're going to look at some actual UAP footage that I've taken from my window just to the left of me, and we've got stuff from Les Copeland over in the US, and a little bit more as well from Ben over in Cornwall. So check it out, folks. Let's get into this, and we've got Ross Coulthart. Let's have a listen.
Do you think the Pentagon confirming it's investigating the allegations of Jake Barber is a major step forward here?
It's an incremental step forward. I think it's important because we do know that the new director of AARO, the Pentagon's UAP investigation office, a chap called Dr. John Kozlowski, were assured he's very serious about investigating the phenomenon. And he admitted to the Congress under oath late last year that he was indeed now talking to first-hand whistleblowers. So to get this confirmation now from the Pentagon that they are now indeed investigating is positive. But as Dr. John Kozlowski has said to several people, his powers are very limited. The Pentagon dictates what he's allowed to reveal and what he's allowed to say publicly. And there isn't a very proud history, I'm afraid, of the Pentagon wanting to be very forthcoming about what we do believe is a covert UAP retrieval and reverse engineering program. So really, I think a lot depends on the degree of transparency and openness that's permitted by the Pentagon, and a lot of that hangs on the new administration. It really does rest with the President and also to some degree with the Congress whether or not we're going to get any movement on any further disclosure about this alleged covert program.
It's a very interesting.
And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why I like Ross Coulthart. He's very practical. He knows exactly what he's trying to say. He's not going to beat around the bush for clicks and views by saying, look, the Pentagon are looking at this now, it's all going to come out. He knows full well that Jake Barber was likely a contractor for Lockheed or someone else, and they got a contract from the likes of the Pentagon. You know, there are people within the Pentagon that know what individuals like Jake Barber got up to. So the fact that they're now looking into it doesn't really bode well, to be honest with you. I would say it's more of a tick box exercise just to keep things quiet until they're ready to go forward with disclosure, which I still believe is happening. Okay, but just because something gets announced like this doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be something come from it. There are people within the US government that have been trying to keep this very quiet for a very long time, and they will continue to try to do that. So it does rely on it hangs on the president's to-do list, and it's up to him to do it, right? Him and people within Congress to push this. He's got the right team behind him. He's got a very strong team behind him. I feel like he could provide the evidence whenever he wants to. It's just a case of sorting out the war, sorting out his country. I feel like it's going to be last on the list, to be honest with you. But last on the list will happen this year. That's where I'm at. So thanks again, Ross. You're awesome, mate. Thank you, News Nation. Keep reporting. Fabulous. Keep doing it. You're the only guys that are doing it, really. So well done to you. Right, let's get onto some evidence. So, with that said, folks, they are pushing for non-human intelligence to be disclosed, and we, myself, Robert Shape, John at Latchkey, a few other channels are the few that actually push the real stuff. I'm not going to mention any names, but I've shared emails recently with people, and I've even had responses. Hi, thanks for contacting me. Is what you're recording the same as what Robert Shape's recording? I reply, yes, it is. Yeah, I'm showing evidence from all around the world. No response. People do not want to touch this. They really don't want to touch this because it's too close to the truth. Okay? It's completely blacklisted. The difference is me and Robert, we just don't care. We need to figure out what this is. Not only from a scientific perspective, but from a humanitarian perspective. Like, what's going on? Well, there's so much that we can uncover and unlearn, and it's just a matter of time, I believe. They can't stop us all, right? So let's get into it, and we're going to start off with my captures from yesterday. And do you know what? This will be a first. I have never ever enhanced any of my pictures on my channel, so I'm going to do that today. And as you can see, that's cracking, right? Look at this. This is just outside my window, folks. And I caught so many small, I'm going to just play that again. I caught so many smaller UAPs zipping past and then quickly, and I mean quickly. And this thing here actually does exactly that. This very one, it doubles back on itself and shoots right across the screen. Anyway, this is just constant. And, you know, I didn't know how active my skies were. It was only the other day I was stood by the window and I was just looking into the distance, and I saw a hockey puck with my own eyes. It just so happens it went straight through my line of vision, and so I started recording, and that's what I captured, folks. So yeah, I cannot believe how close this thing got to my face, because when I started recording this was 3 seconds into the video, which meant I was still stood there trying to probably focus my phone, because I'd only just hit record, and this thing zipped right past. It was like it was waiting for me. They know exactly where I am now. I'm sure that they've probably taken a look inside my little studio here and thought, right, we know where this is where this has come from. And look, whether these things are piloted or not, I don't know. This is freaky. I'm tempted just to write a sign on my window and say, look, come on in. I'll put the kettle on. In fact, screw it. I'm going to do that. This is non-human intelligence at the end of the day, and I'd love for them to just pop up. Alright, so here comes the enhancements, folks, and Robert at Custodian File actually interpolated my first close capture. So I've done an enhancement of all of that. Look at you, mate. Look at that, right outside my window as well. Cheeky buggers. I'm going to invite them in. I'm going to let you guys know how I get on, but that is classic hockey puck UAP. And like I said, it zips away from the screen, and then I think it's the same object, but blimey, does it move once it moves further away from the lens there, and I see it in the background, it flies. I mean, it really does zip off, just like we're seeing in all the other clips. And amazing, absolutely amazing. Check that out. This is the interpolation that Robert's done for me. You can see as it's come in, look at that. What we see all the time, isn't it? Just this aura, this glow around it. And you can almost see a barbell in there as well. It's just amazing. Flipping amazing. You can see how the metamaterial just covers parts of it and just hides it really well. Look at that. Really, really good stuff. And here it's, look at that. It's got a little bit of a hue coming off it here, look. Doing something in that moment. Flipping amazing. I can't believe that's just right outside my window there. I really can't. Thank you, Robert, Custodian File, mate. That's just awesome. Check those out. Look. Outside my window, Wiltshire, England. And, you know, since I've been recording, turns out there's a highway just outside there as well. And I get the feeling that these things are just everywhere, folks. They're just everywhere. If you're high up and you've got a window, pull your phone out, stick it on the windowsill, stabilise it, hit record, push the screen, make sure you're in focus, walk away, go make a cup of tea. That's all I did. That's literally all I did. Look back at the footage and boom, this is what I've got. Bloody amazing. Absolutely fabulous. And we've got more. We've got more, folks. Okay, next up we've got Les Copeland. Les, let's see what you've done, buddy. What have you managed to capture here, mate? Now, from what I understand, Les is in the US, by the way, and from what I understand, he's going over some old videos, and he decided to pull this particular one up on a big screen to see if there was anything there. And yes, I mean, not only is there something here, it's high activity. There's a lot. Everything that you see there dipping through the sky, except the bird, is a UAP. And it's amazing. Now, whether they're just trying to interact with this bird, or whether they're trying to learn how to mimic, or whether they're just looking for something, who knows? But they also tagged the hell out of this plane as well. Stupid activity. So they're all birds. I mean, look at this. We've got all sorts going on, but just to go back, this one's come up from here. Look at that for a hockey puck as well. We will enhance this as well, Les. Look at this thing. Just tags the bird, no problemo. And I was looking at this dot as well. I feel like there's something else up there that's just barely showing itself, okay? Interacting with these pucks. We always see a tiny dot included, you know? And yeah, definitely. And again, we had another little dot here. It's just crazy. Like, that one was mimicking a bird, I feel. Another one, just incredible, man, incredible. So what do we think they want with the birds? That's the question. We see them tagging the birds all the time. Now, regarding the helicopters and planes and stuff, like, arguably you could say, well, they're after the, look at that. You could say, well, arguably they're after the technology. You know, they want to see how we work. I don't think they care about our technology, to be honest with you. I think they care about what we're capable of and if we can get close to their capabilities. But I would imagine that what they're seeing here is very primitive, and they're just not. I don't know why they would have interest in it, and they must know how our jet engines work and how our propulsion works and everything now. So I don't really get it. We've got to keep researching. We've got to keep researching. Les, I've taken this single hockey puck there, mate. It was the clearest one you had. And it was clear to me that all of those objects were exactly this thing here. It's a hockey puck. And that's it. Look at that. That's flipping awesome. Fat end, skinny end, metamaterial. I think it might even have a small attachment here as well. See this? A smaller hockey puck attached. Potentially. It could be just one large object with a little bit sticking out here and the meta's just covering it up. But that would mean that this is probably some kind of cylindrical tube or something. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But yeah, that's really, really good capture, my man. And I'm so thankful that you went back through your old videos, mate. And you should. Everyone should be looking back through their old videos. Okay, Cornwall Ben, he's at it again. Frisbee number 3. And this is going to drive the scientist potty, let me tell you. Because when you throw a Frisbee into the air and you've got a bug-like object go through the middle of it, that's rare, okay? You wouldn't see many flies do that. Never mind a second time, and never mind a third time, okay? This is going to drive the scientist bonkers. Let's have a look at it. I mean, come off it, Ben. You got a UAP Olympics going on there, mate. I mean, that's just incredible. They're literally playing with you, buddy. They are literally playing with you. I can't get over how good this research is. And you know what? Part of me thinks that they want to know you. If they're not the bad guys, and we've had that theory, I could be completely wrong with that theory. They are seriously advanced. They're just really good at evading us. They could be the good guys. I don't know. There's a lot of them up there. A hell of a lot of them up there. And I would really love to know which side they're on. But I'm almost willing to get as close as I can to them to find out as well. So thank you, Ben, mate. I know you're going to carry on doing the research. I know you've got other ideas, and I cannot wait to get my bum up there to have a look and record with you, man. It's going to be awesome, and we're going to try and do that really soon, folks. Right, I'm going to leave you guys with a very interesting take on time and our perception of it, and our perception of what's going on, not only on the planet but in existence. Okay, this guy, he's got a really critical thinking brain, and I'm not saying what he's saying is correct, but this was back in 1998, folks.
Well, novelty theory is something I've been working on since the early 70s, inspired by psychedelic plant experiences in the Amazon, to attempt to look at time and really deconstruct it and attempt to understand what it is. And this has been a wild intellectual ride, leading to some pretty easily stated conclusions. One is that novelty, which is my term for complexity or advanced organization, novelty increases as we approach the present moment. The universe you and I are living in is a far more novel and complicated place than the early universe was. Well, some people would say, well, that's just a consequence of the unfolding of developmental processes. But this asks the question, what are developmental processes? Why should the universe have a preference for order over disorder, especially when we have something called the second law of thermodynamics, which tells us exactly the opposite? Physicists believe the universe is running down ultimately into a state of disorder. But what I see is everywhere the emergence of more and more complex forms, languages, organisms, technologies, always building on the previously achieved levels of complexity. So that was one of my insights. Coming out of that insight was the further understanding that this process of complexification through time is not proceeding at a steady rate. It actually follows a kind of asymptotic curve. In other words, it's happening faster and faster. And this was a revelation to me because it allowed me philosophically to contextualize the human world and to understand that human technologies, languages, migrations, art movements, ideologies are not something different from nature. They're the same download of process that we see in the movement of continents, the evolution of new species of animals, except that these human novel emergent situations are happening much more quickly. So I see the cosmos, if you will, as a kind of novelty-producing engine, a kind of machine which produces complexity in all realms, physical, chemical, social, whatever, and then uses that achieved level of complexity as the platform for further complexity. Well, this explains our present circumstance. It explains the rush toward all forms of new technology and social organization in the new millennium. But you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that if the universe is complexifying faster and faster, a epoch, a time will come when this rate of complexification is occurring so rapidly that it will become itself the overwhelming phenomena in the world of three-dimensional space and time. And I call this the omega point, or the transcendental object at the end of history. And I believe it is not that far off, that with the emergence of global internet, a human population of several billions, an electronic noosphere, that we are now within the shadow of this transcendental object at the end of time. Our religions sense it. That's what gives them their apocalyptic intuitions. And I think the ordinary man and woman in the street sense a kind of built-in acceleration to time itself. Well, rather than dismissing that or treating it as a psychological perception or something unique to our society, I took it as a basic perception about physics, and have built elaborate mathematically defined theories around this idea, and then have found, to my astonishment, incredible congruences with other work. I'm thinking of the Mayan calendar and its curious countdown-like quality toward an extremely unique event that the Maya felt would occur in the same time frame that my own equations predicted, even though at the time I was unaware of the Maya. So what we have here is a new model of time based on a very real intuition that I think most people share, which is that time is speeding up, that human beings are part of that process, and that the culmination of that process is now within the ven of historical time. In other words, I believe it will happen in 2012, in December, coincident with the same events that the Maya placed at the end of their calendar. Even if I'm wrong, even if it's 100 years or 500 years later, these are still spans of time that, when compared to the life of the planet, are fractions of a percentage. So whether you believe, as I do, that we can know the precise moment of this transformation of the world of time, or whether you believe it is simply coming soon and fast, really doesn't make that much difference. We are all gathered here at the end game of developmental processes on this planet. We are about to become unrecognizable to ourselves as a species. Our technologies, our religions, our science has pushed us toward this for thousands of years without us awakening to what the denouement would be. Now we stand close enough to it that I think all but the most lumpen among us must feel the tug of the transcendental and the transformative.
I am very perplexed when you say that time is speeding up. As far as I can tell, such things as crystal oscillators, things which keep time, clocks, the relationship of the Earth turning to the calendar, the full moon, all of the things which are symptoms of our passage through time, don't seem to be throwing themselves out of kilter. So what do you really mean about time speeding up?
Well, let me answer in the form of a question. Which lasts longer, 1,000,000 years in which nothing happens, or 10 seconds with 50,000 events crammed into it? In other words, really time is only experienced by the events which occur within it. And I maintain that the early universe had very little going on, and consequently time moved very, very slowly. The character of time as we approach the present is that there are more and more physical domains and energetic domains in which change can occur. For example, the early universe was a pure plasma, a pure swarm of unassociated electrons. You didn't even have atomic systems, let alone chemistry, molecular chemistry, life, complex speciated life, and dynamically balanced planetary ecosystems. Each one of those more complex phenomena crystallized out, or emerged, if you will, from the previous systems that had come into existence. So when I say time is speeding up, what I mean really is that more and more is happening. More and more is happening. And if you ask the question, well, what would be the ultimate state of connectivity or of happening? It's when all points are connected to all other points. Somehow this concept of connectivity is intimately linked to the concept of complexity. And so really what I'm saying is that the universe is getting its act together. It's connecting the dots. It's bringing everything into co-relationship with everything else. And somehow it does this through the production of consciousness. Consciousness is this integrative function in biology which takes data which may appear profoundly unrelated, and in fact brings it into some kind of a congruent relationship. We say an organism coordinates a point of view. Well, in a way, what's happening over time is that the universe is coordinating a point of view. And as it does this, it becomes somehow more aware, more self-conscious, more being-like and less thing-like. And as I said, this process is not proceeding at a steady pace. It's proceeding faster and faster. More connectivity occurs now in a calendar year than occurred in 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years ago. So somehow, as we approach the present, we find ourselves in an ever denser realm of activity, interrelationship, connectivity, and the result of this is more of the same, producing a shrinking globe, ever more immersive technologies, dissolution of political, social, gender, and class boundaries of all sorts. So that's what I mean when I say the universe is speeding up. You know, before the advent of man, of human beings, the fastest changes on this planet of any consequence were genetic changes, changes in the genomes of plants and animals. Well, biologists know that for a fruit fly to add a spur to its leg, for a bird to change its plumage, you need hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of years of evolutionary time. With the advent of human beings using spoken language, a new kind of possibility was born. It's called epigenetic change. In other words, change which is not about genes, but which is about languages, customs, behaviors of human beings. Epigenetic change reaches its dramatic culmination in speech, writing, and communication of all sorts. And so the carriers of epigenetic change, the human beings, are automatically then the carriers of accelerated novelty. And so when you look at, let's say, evolution on a coral reef, and you compare it, let's say, to the evolution of political ideas in modern Europe, obviously modern Europe's rate of change in this domain is thousands of times faster. So by moving from the genetic to the epigenetic realm, we have vastly accelerated all kinds of processes. Now we appear to be about to move from the strictly human domain to the human-machine symbiosis domain. And of course, machines process information, make connections, and do their work at a rate thousands of times faster than any human being can work. So we see again a progressive acceleration of the process of creating and maintaining varieties of connectivity. And that's what I mean by time is speeding up.
Your description of the process by which you developed the time wave theory. I understand, I read True Hallucination, so I understand it took you some years to kind of work it all out.
Yes, in the Amazon, all was chaos and mythic revelation, but I knew that you couldn't bring that back as a scientific theory, and my bias has always been toward science. And out of these many intuitions and revelations, I discerned a thread which was about time. It began with a conversation with this Logos entity where it said to me, "Did you know every day is composed of 4 other days?" And I said, no, I not only didn't know that, it's never occurred to me. What a bizarre idea. Well, so this idea then of a time being a resonance created by other times, not immediately before or after it, as in scientific causality, but somehow a day centuries ago, centuries in the future, come together to create an interference pattern that creates the unique moment. So that was one of the basic assumptions. And then the structure on which this all was hung was the I Ching, which may seem exotic to American and European audiences, but which is, of course, as familiar to anyone in Chinese society as the Declaration of Independence is to us. And what is the I Ching? Well, it's a very ancient method of divining and predicting the future, based on the idea that every moment can be symbolized.
Like and subscribe, as always, UndercoverETuk UK. It's free to do. Support the public's footage, support disclosure, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye for now.